I got to say, Knew Amsterdam Radio is brought to you part by Anchor FM. Have you ever thought about making your own podcast? You see, when I was trying to get this podcast off the ground, I had a lot of questions. How do I record an episode? How do I get my show into all the apps people like to listen? How do I make money from my podcast? And most importantly, I don't want to deal with cables and wires and all those things. You see, the answer to every single one of these questions is pretty simple. Anchor. Anchor is the one-stop shop for recording, hosting, and distributing your podcast. And best of all, it's 100% free and ridiculously easy to use. And you can use your phone, which is pretty awesome. Now, Anchor can match you with great sponsors who want to advertise on your podcast. That means you can get paid to podcast right away. In fact, that's what I'm doing right now by reading this ad. So if you ever wanted to start a podcast and make money doing it, go to anchor.fm/start. That's anchor.fm/start to join me and the diverse community of podcasters already using Anchor. That's anchor.fm/start. I can't wait to hear your podcast. Welcome, citizen. This is Knew Amsterdam Radio, the podcast for creatives. My name is Flobo, as it is every week. I mean, that doesn't really change, but I had to introduce myself as if each episode is the first time. How's everyone doing? I'm sure you guys can tell me things of varying degrees of great or not so great, for that I understand. It's a new month. It's April. Hopefully you guys survive April 1st. I squeak by myself as this shutdown in Los Angeles rolls on for me personally, but I know other parts and other communities in this country and the planet are also been on a lockdown for the quarantine. I totally understand. You're not alone. And that's why I decided to keep on keeping on, making new shows, making new episodes. I want to thank you all for checking out this episode and all the other ones here in New Amsterdam, Canada. Please tell a friend about this show. newamsterdam.com, available wherever you stream. We're talking Google Podcasts, we're talking Spreaker, we're talking Spotify, we're talking YouTube even. That's how the show grows and how it rolls on. In a minute, I'm talking to you about webinars and how that seems to be the new normal of how brands and companies are out there trying to outreach people, especially with everyone's current predicament. But first, I want to say how you doing. I want to check in on your mental health. Let me know how you're feeling, email me or see me out on Twitter at FloboBoys with your questions, your comments, your concerns. And if I can help out in any way with any kind of guidance of what next, of how to build for the future, of how to maximize the experiences you have now, I'll try my hardest as we are in all uncharted territory. For me, I'm somewhere between day 17 and day 18 of self-quarantine, and I'm trying to consume media and create my own as I try to make some sense of what's going on, keep myself on level so I can not only create for my audience or my fans or find a way to develop new sources of revenue, but just for myself, to see what I can and can't do given the resources. You really can't go outside unless you're onto the store or going to essential businesses. So gone are the days of doing guerrilla shorts or comedy sketches. In my case, I'm not sure how your businesses have modified over the past couple weeks or so, but I'm sure there's some modification afoot. One of the things I noticed, though, is how quickly some companies have rushed their commercials over to television. It just makes it feel like it was almost instantaneous. You had companies coming forward and saying what they're planning to do during the pandemic, and that's something that you have to give them credit for. Anyone who's been to a PR class will tell you, you see an issue, you identify the issue, and you offer solutions of how to circumnavigate or what your company is doing. But this is unprecedented for a lot of reasons, and you guys have pretty much at this point seen enough news stories to have them coming up to your eyeballs. But on the marketing side, I wonder, what does a company do to stay relevant in an uncertain time on this level, right? This isn't like not to make light of it, but this isn't like a terrorism incident in one city. I mean, this is something that's affecting the planet at once. You really don't want to have your advertising or your marketing efforts to talk about new product launches or brand new sales of lines of equipment or products if there is a potential for a global economic shutdown on the horizon. See, there's a very fine line what companies can do to stay relevant and stay helpful with their marketing and not come off as tone deaf. And one of the tenements of inbound marketing, if you guys are inbound fans, and for those of you who are not really sure what that is, inbound marketing differs from outbound marketing. Outbound is more of like the traditional way of things, selling, advertising, telling people about the product and services offered. Inbound is really more about creating a conversation, becoming more of an information resource that happens to sell the product almost coyly or almost on the back burner, A good chance of this, a good example of this is, say, you go to a health site like Goop or Livestrong, and they tell you articles about how to eat right or how to exercise. And in the corner, there's a certain supplement that if you click on a link, the Livestrong.com, for example, gets a kickback. A little bit more inbound, it's more native advertising, but that's an inbound tactic, right? So you're a company, you're trying to make sure that people understand that you're helpful. And you can release infographics and do commercials. Well, you kind of have a captive audience. There's people out there that aren't allowed to leave their house until they have time to sit and experience long-form things that are helpful. And it seems almost like a no-brainer. What's a long-form of content that you can make that will make your brand or your company seem helpful in a time when anyone is looking for information about anything? As a small business owner myself, I think I've sat down and watched webinars on anything from HoneyBook, which is my customer relationship management tool. But basically what that means is if you're a client of mine, HoneyBook handles your information, your details, your number, your requests and all that. They had a couple of webinars. A lot of my news lists that I read, text, emails, and updates and digests are having webinars as well. And it's really easy to base webinars around the current environment. As a small business owner, as a business owner of color, as someone living in Los Angeles, there are just 3 different flavors of webinar content I experience answering the same question: what do I do in this environment? Now, I'm not saying you should do that so linearly. I'm not saying, hey, if you sell enamel pins that you should go on and have a COVID-19 webinar. But what I'm saying is you now have an opportunity to reach an audience that is at home, that is looking for entertainment in that long form kind of way, but also understand that you are a company and what you offer has to be helpful as well. And I think this is the perfect time for you to really dig deep and say, what can I teach others? What can I share? I'm kind of biased here as I'm telling you what I discovered on a podcast, and it's technically free. But you don't have to have a podcast because there's an implication with the podcast. It's a series, but you can really just say, hey, look, here's something I do. Here's how I weave this basket. I'm going to show you how I do it. Or this is the most effective way I created my song writing skills or my musical number. This is how I write my music. So I'm getting at. Or, hey, this is something that's pretty cool. Have you ever thought about becoming a pastry chef? Well, these are the tools I think you should have. And here I'm going to give you examples of them. These questions are very, very small because I think a lot of times we creatives, we say, I don't know. That's common knowledge. Everyone knows that. No. We are so in our heads and about, imposter syndrome or not seeing as being valid that a lot of things we know, we think it's intrinsic, that we think it's table stakes, is completely foreign to people just starting out. And more importantly, there's people who are willing to learn, and it doesn't really hurt you anything because, and an exchange of sharing people about your craft, you sneakily get to work on your craft. Even if it's just as simple as learning to articulate the processes you think is such nature, you are getting to work on your craft while not having to beat yourself or beat yourself down, I should say, or beat yourself up, beat yourself down, beat yourself up for saying, oh, I'm not creating the next painting in my line. I'm just spending time teaching people how to use acrylic on canvas. Well, if you're doing that, when you're telling people what the moves are, what the steps are, you're reinforcing why your technique is a technique you use. So it has kind of an intrinsic benefit for both people, the people learning, obviously, and for you, the teacher. And webinars can be a series. It could be a weekly thing, a daily thing, and you don't really need advanced software. If you guys have probably noticed, a lot more of your artist friends have gone live on Instagram. And there's Periscope, and there's Facebook Live, and there's YouTube Live. That's where I do my web series on, and And you can also do other things as well. You can record and upload those to Vimeo and Wistia and all those other video platforms as well. The options are really yours. But I really want you to drill down and think about things that you enjoy doing, that you want to share what you're doing with someone you don't think would be even on the realm of appreciating what you're doing. And you'll be surprised something that will stumble across your site or go, hey, that's something pretty cool. I'll give you a perfect example. A friend of mine on the AfterBuzz Network, his name is Jack Farmer, he and I were thinking about doing a web show where we are having a live stream during we're talking about wrestling. Sort of like we do at AfterBuzz, but kind of off the grid. And I didn't know the first thing about that. Didn't know the right app to use. Didn't know the processes to use. So I went and did what we all do. We asked the Oracle, Google, or YouTube. And I came across someone who literally says, hey, look, I don't usually do comparison videos or tutorial videos, but this is something kind of cool and fun. And granted, that was a short form example, but here's somebody who had a niche about tech and decided to do a one-off comparison video to see which live streaming platform is best for live streaming. And it was incredibly helpful to me. In fact, it helped me choose a platform I actually end up using. And I actually told in the comments, hey man, I came across this through a Bing search, not Google, not memory serves. I came across this through a Bing search. This is incredibly helpful. Thank you so much. And this guy was like, oh, thank you for saying that, because I always wonder where reviews come from. And it all kind of had this like cool, warm feeling that here's this person that created something, left knowledge, left game out there on YouTube. And I came and I scooped it up. And truthfully, Jack and I did our second episode of that streaming show. And we're building more content ideas based on the knowledge I got from someone else in this community we call the Globe. So think about that for your project, for your craft, and what you're working on, and what you can share, even the small things, to your potential audience. And I think now is the time for long-form content. Whether or not you do a sit-down, a Q&A, a webinar about how to do a certain part of your technique, now is the time. That's all the time we have for this edition of Knew Amsterdam Radio, the podcast for creatives. In the meantime, please follow me on social media. I'm available at Twitter at Flobo Boys, on Instagram at Flobito, and Flobito.com. And this time, please, if you have some extra means to support another creative person out there, please buy a t-shirt at Flobito.threadless.com, and have a Patreon up where we have bonus content coming out at least once a week, if not twice. Check it out at patreon.com/FloboBoys. Please support the homie as I create more and more content. We're ramping it up, baby. Big things are happening. Of course, until next time, this is Knew Amsterdam Radio, and the city is yours.